as I look back over my life,
Watch out now.
I can say that I have made a transition from a boy to a man. You want to turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, my past determines my praise. Because if you be honest with yourself, in your past, you could have lost your mind. In your past, you could have went crazy. In your past, you could be dead and gone.
Watch out, watch out.
For what God brought you through. You ought to give God glory for what you made it out of. Your past ought to determine your praise. But I'm not a big preacher. I'm going to go ahead and get into my poem. My past, I was a gun-toting, drug-moving, cursing somebody. But since I've met God, I'm a Bible-toting, word-quoting, believing somebody. And so, as y'all listen to this, you may hear some things, but just stay with me. Is that all right? All right, it says, from a boy to a man. I used to be on the block, non-stop, drugs in my socks, gripping a Glock, get out of line, I put that thing to your top and make your brains rock. The blast so hot that when it pop at your hip, it'll make you hop. That's how you transition from pop to hip hop. Wait, stop. Now that you listening, I can say what's real again. I lead them to the cross because they're lost like Gilligan. I lead them out of darkness because their fog lights are dim again. And I got the devil saying, oh man, not him again. No longer a boy, but I have now grown into a man. And there are just some things that you've got to understand. See, there's a big difference between a boy and a man. A boy has insecurities, but a man is security. A boy has a proclivity to chase promiscuity. And all he really wants is to get every skirt that he sees. But a man has patience to wait upon his good thing. It's not a matter of whether you've hit puberty, but it's a question of your level of maturity. Second, there's a difference in the way that we eat. See, a man needs a 4-course meal, but a boy is on breast milk still. A boy can't take the truth because it will affect the way that he feels. But a man will say, hey man, look, as long as you keeping it real. A boy will say the system is the reason that he can't find a job. But a man will walk 3 hours a day just to find a job. I know because that's what I did to provide for my kid. Boys complain, but men create change. And many people may look at me strange. Yes, it seems that they can't deal with me because I must be foreign like I came from overseas. Because I'm not sipping lean or seeking jeans, yet I'm living clean. In case you missed that, I said I'm not sipping lean or seeking jeans, I'm living clean. And I believe in the unseen to supply my needs. And lastly, as I said, you should be grateful that God saved you from you. You're no longer crazy, confused, or a fool. But you've grown beyond what kids do. No more video games and cereal. You work a 9 to 5 so that you can provide. When I was a child, I spoke, thought, and understood as a boy. Yes. But now that I'm a man, I put away childish things, and I know what it means to make the move from a boy to a man. Somebody ought to lift your hands and say, I thank God from the change from a boy to a man. Is there anybody in here that knows you've been changed? Is there anybody in here that knows you were sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rise no more? But the master of the sea, he heard. Tell your neighbor, say, he heard my despairing cry, and from the water he lifted me and saved me. I'm gonna hear somebody tap your neighbor and say, neighbor, I made it through all the hell I've been through. I'm getting ready to take my foot, I promise y'all. He told me I can do 2, so I got one more. And the title of this one is called Through It All. God was with you through it all. Come on here, somebody. And it says, I shed some tears. And I've had some tough years. I've been abandoned by many of my peers. I've faced and overcome many of my fears. I've been through storms and rain, heartache and pain. I've suffered some loss and I've obtained some gain. I'm not perfect. Yes, I got flaws. And I didn't always stand tall. Yes, at times I did fall. But trust me, God was there through it all. Tap your neighbor and say, through it all. Through every hurt and every pain. When people walked away, even on them weary days, I can still say, y'all, he was there through it all. I've been mishandled by a spouse. No food in my house. But I never let a complaint come out of my mouth. Oh, if these walls could talk, they would say him. He was there through it all. So I can say that through it all, I've learned how to trust in him. Through it all, I've learned to depend on him. Through it all, I found him to be a friend. You want to tap somebody and say, I found out that through it all, God will be there with you. Now, if you know God was with you through it all, you want to seal that with a prayer.